Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Our guest today is Erik Huberman. So Erik, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us where you live and what you do.
Sure. I live in Santa Monica, California, and run a company called Hawk Media. We're the outsourced CMO and marketing team to about 500 active brands right now, about 250 full-time people. We also have a venture fund where we've invested in over 100 marketing technology companies, e-commerce tech, commerce enablement, and a few other things as well. And we also have built our own AI software we spent the past decade building called Hawk AI that's digesting about 6,000 companies' marketing, media, and revenue data in real time and helping us train AI against it so we can actually jump into an individual company and identify immediately what's working, what's not, where their opportunities are.
Awesome. So I'm just curious more about your background. Like, how did you get into this business? Like, what made you want to start it?
Yeah, built and sold 2 e-commerce companies. I mean, I could go a lot longer than that, but that's kind of the end result of a long story. Started advising and consulting for a lot of brands and just quickly found that in the marketing landscape, fast forward to now, there's 90,000 digital agencies in the US, and 99% of them are full of shit and have no idea what they're doing. And the few that are any good tend to only want to work with the Fortune 2000. And so basically that leaves any growth brand or small or medium business to have to vie through this muck of terrible agencies to try to find a decent one, which if you talk to any business owner, they've had bad agency experiences. And I just think it's insane that we live in a world where that's accepted. And so I wanted to build the solution to that. And that was Hawk Media, the idea to be a team that is the best at what they do, but also easy to work with, flexible, nimble, cost-effective, et cetera.
Sure. And I guess just like from your background, what do you see kind of in the market, other agencies that are doing not well, that you guys do exceptionally well at Hawk Media?
Well, that's the funny thing is like when people ask questions like, there's a lot of like cliche questions like, well, what sets you apart? Like one really easy way to beat 90% of agencies is just do what you say when you say you're going to do it and actually deliver what you say you're going to do. Like start there, kind of table stakes you would think, but not in this landscape because of the lack of barrier to entry. And also, again, once you get good, not getting pretentious about it. Like, yeah, we do work with Nike and Unilever and Red Bull and all these great brands, but we also work with great up and coming brands that could be the next Nike, Unilever, Red Bull. So I never understood that pretentious side to it. And I never understood why you would ever try to build a business and not be accountable and do the things you say you're going to do and have a level of integrity. So as crazy as it is, that combination makes us pretty much unique, where we'll still work with SMBs, but we aren't full of shit. It's actually, there's not many of those at all.
For sure. And I guess like, what do you kind of look for, right? Like when you're even like as part of like your venture fund or just in general, like when you're looking at these brands, you're saying, okay, this brand could be like that next Nike. Like, what do you kind of look for, in terms of partnerships in general?
Yeah, so I have a good anecdote there. So I worked for a company called Science before I started Hawk. And Science's most recent success story is Liquid Death. One of the founders called me and said, hey, we're launching this water company, $5 million valuation. We want you to be an investor. And I said, Death Water, you guys are idiots, and moved on. And I love them. I still work with them. I talk to them all the time, but I did not invest in Liquid Death's pre-seed round because I thought Death Water was a really dumb move. So why I say that is the answer is I stopped believing that anyone, including me, has some crystal ball that they can look at a brand and go, that's going to be it, a long time ago. And so it's more about watching the indicators, continuing to invest in. I've also seen companies that screw it up way later in their life that, were great businesses for up until 50 million and then fuck it up. So It's really, that's why I kind of operate the way I do, where it's like, I have no idea. So I'm just going to do all the things I know how to do well, and I'm going to watch the results. And if it works, that's the world telling me it's a good idea. Me being the arbiter is ridiculous, nor anyone else.
For sure. And I guess like in terms of channels, right? Like people always have like different perspectives, like Meta versus TikTok versus Google. Like what do you guys kind of see in terms of like what do you focus on and what's driving like the best results for your clients?
Yeah. So the most important thing when you're picking channels is understanding the context in which someone's receiving that. Assuming we're talking about media and ads, we're you don't pick email marketing or Meta because you need to be doing both for Meta, for example. But we're talking about Meta versus TikTok versus Snapchat versus YouTube versus Google. It's really the context. So thinking about just taking Meta versus Google, which are still the two best performing channels, period. TikTok's catching up, but those two are really still winning. On Google search, it's basically it's for any brand that's trying to answer existing demand. Someone's looking for something proactively, you want to show up. And so thinking about where that would apply, like that works really well for needs-based products, like more of commodity style products or things that, again, are serving a specific need at a specific time. The example that comes to mind is like a certain type of attorney. I need a DUI attorney. Like that is going to be something very time-based. You just got a DUI, you need a DUI attorney. There's not many other channels that can give you that to you. And so on Google, that's where it makes sense. Vice versa, let's say you're selling running shoes. If someone's Googling running shoes, the chances of them looking up your brand that they've never heard of and having a discovery experience on that is slim to none. Unless you're going to have a bunch of great content organically ranked that they can actually do research in the moment and go, oh, this is a guy like top 10 running shoes, and you show up on all those lists. Now we're talking about something that could happen. But in terms of paid search, you showing up for running shoes, if you're not Nike or Adidas or On or Asics or one of the well-known brands, you're probably not going to get much conversion there. Vice versa, on Meta, it's all creating demand versus answering demand. So people aren't necessarily looking for you. So in that sense, if you're a new running shoe company, you can create great content, target people that tend to be early adopters of new, athletic gear or whatever. And that's where you can actually create some new demand for your product and grab some market share. That being said, then you go back to like the DUI attorney example on Meta, it's all interest graph. So targeting. So like, what am I going to target? People that like Jack Daniels and Mercedes. Like it's not really a place that you can be, market as a DUI attorney that well, unless you build a really broad net. So more like injury attorneys, employment attorneys that like anyone could be their customer. That's a little different. And so that's the difference there. Now, TikTok, to use that since you asked about it, they're really interesting because Facebook, the way the user interface, and again, it's all about the context in which someone's receiving your ad. Facebook has worked so well for a long time because when people are using it, and Instagram's in there too, they're just scrolling through their newsfeed. They're basically telling you they're bored and doing nothing productive, so it's a good time to reach them. But traditionally, up until recently, when they started copying a little bit more of TikTok's algorithm, it was all social graph based. So everything I'm seeing is people that I follow, people that I like, people that I've engaged with. And so now TikTok comes along and goes, instead of this social graph based on like an opt-in, I'm going to like your page so now I can see stuff, we're just going to try to predict based on what you pause on, what you spend time on, what you want to see, and serve you up more of what you want to see. Lo and behold, that created an incredible amount more engagement because people got used to seeing things they didn't ask for. So now the ads actually are more effective on TikTok because the user base is used to seeing things that aren't supposed to be in their feed. But TikTok hasn't had enough time to develop the ad product and the level of algorithms from the advertising side that Facebook has. They're way behind. So the performance still isn't there yet, but I do believe over time, the battle is going to be how fast can Meta adopt the interest-based graph versus social graph while TikTok catches up on the ad product. And there's going to be a little bit of a battle. Both are kind of aiming towards the same thing where they're going to kind of be interchangeable. And now you have TikTok. What's the new name of the product? Like M2 or something? Just saw it. TikTok's coming out with a US-based product in September, apparently, because of all the government stuff. And then, and we could go through the rest of the platforms. But it's really about understanding how people are playing on them and how they operate to understand where you should spend them.
But in terms of like search and discovery, what are you seeing now in the market with your clients, with platforms like ChatGPT? I think that's really changing like landscape.
Yeah, we've actually added to our SEO services GEO and optimizing for those, and it's working. And we invested in a platform called Gumshoe.ai that is optimization for these LLMs, and it's working. Go look the top marketing agency in LA. Guess who shows up? So to ask ChatGPT that. So like it's very similar to SEO. It's a bit of the Wild West in a good way for good marketers because you have a chance to kind of rig the system for you. And we're doing a ton of it now. And that being said, it's going to take a long time. There's still people watching VHS. So human adoption is really the slow curve here. But I'm one of them that I Google search when it's something like I want the website, meaning I specifically am looking for this. But the moment I have a discovery need, I go to ChatGPT now. When I was looking for a new TV mount that needed to do a specific thing, and I went right to ChatGPT. I forgot there was something else I looked at ChatGPT about last night. It was even my shopping habits are starting to be based in that. Now there's a lot of grumbling around that replacing even Shopify and websites. I think that's ridiculous. People it's so funny how many Twitter has turned everyone into a self-proclaimed expert on everything. And it's kind of insane. But when it comes to shopping, people still need to trust a product they're buying. And so they need to see it. They need to see reviews. They need in general, the average sales cycle online is between 3 weeks and 3 months for most consumer products.
Right.
And so during that time, they're thinking about it. They're looking around. They're looking for validators. There's all these things that happen that it's, and I think a lot of tech people think that everything's transactional and everything's robotic, and it's not. And so while Meta came out with their announcement about how they're just going to ask for your credit card and then they're going to just run ads for you and develop all the AI and all the creative and all that. And like, great. So you're going to look like every other product on Meta, and it's going to kill Meta as an advertising platform. It might be the worst decision they've made since calling the company Meta. Like, really ill-advised. Like, I'm always shocked that they have a room of such brilliant people that are so out of touch, but that's the world. So yeah, I mean, as we talk about AI, I think a lot of it is going to change a lot of how we behave and a lot of what we do, but not in any of the ways people are saying it's going to, in my opinion. And what's my favorite anecdote, it's actually quoted in Silicon Valley, the TV show, which I think is a fun source for a great anecdote. But he talks, it's the chief of staff, I forgot his name in the show, but he talks about when the Industrial Revolution happened in 1900, it was predicted by 1950 that because horses were having to be ridden into cities so much, there would be approximately 9 feet of horse shit on every street in every major city because they couldn't think of an alternative to what are we going to do about all this horse shit. There wasn't going to be cars. So it's the same thing when you talk about AI, is like, it's going to change a lot, but it's going to change the way we look at things too. So, I'm more of a optimist with how all that's going to work out and what that's going to change. And it's going to just create a lot of new opportunities. But it's human nature to not only go to the negative and fear change, but also to promote it on media, because that's what engages people. So we see the headlines. This happened when Adobe Photoshop came out. There was predictions that there would be no more art directors. It's too easy now. We don't need art directors. And it actually did the exact opposite. It proliferated that in that world. So yeah.
For sure. And so in terms of like the agency, right, like obviously you guys have grown a lot. You started this from being in the e-com space to launching. It's like, what has been like the best way that you guys have grown? Has it been through advertisements, for instance? Like obviously, I mean, getting good results for your clients, but I guess like besides that.
Networking events. And when I say events, event can be a dinner, can be a happy hour, can be, getting together with a small group of people, but like just getting together. Or conferences, trade shows, all that stuff. I've just found that, like, again, trust is a big part of human nature. And I teach this to our sales team all the time. We have 24 people on our our sellers, I think, at Hawk. And it's you get into the business of telling someone why they need marketing, you've already failed. Like, don't waste your time. If someone doesn't understand the value of marketing just in general, like, that's not our job. Our job is to explain why we're the best partner, not why they need marketing. And so if our job is to explain why they're the best partner, if we're just a random phone call or email, we're getting nowhere. If we're a person and I'm standing in front of you, I'm showing my knowledge and my passion for it and talking through your business and all that, it's such a great way of building that trust, which is our whole game. Like, don't get me wrong. We talk about in our book, the Hawk Method, there's 3 factors of marketing: awareness, nurturing, and trust. How do you let people know you exist? How do you then nurture that to a sale? And then how do you build trust so they actually convert? On the trust side, for us, like, awareness and nurturing, like, we have to do it, but trust is really the crux of our business because, and I always say this, like, trust matters more or less depending on the type of business. In our business, it's everything. And not just in new business, but also retention. Because the moment someone stops trusting our guidance, our work ethic, or et cetera, they're looking for every hole to fire us in terms of, like, even consciously, but like subconsciously now they're not giving us the benefit of the doubt. And so that is so critical in how we operate that in person and being human really goes along.
So how much is that in-person shifted now, kind of like post-COVID? Obviously, I mean, during COVID, you couldn't meet in person. So what does that look like for you guys?
So it's ripped back. I mean, now it's just explaining to people that are a little stuck. Like, I actually talk about this a lot at Hawk. I think we pivoted into COVID incredibly well. Like 2020 and 2021 were both record years for us. Like, we had a short scare, like April of 2020, our business dropped 25%. May, it came right back. In June, we had a record month. So it was like, something's working here. And I really, as a founder, my team even pushed it back on me. Like, I leaned in fully. Like, I got super creative, super aggressive, came up with, like, I don't know what it was. And I've seen this in other parts of my life when there's like a crisis, I sort of rise to it. And I'm like, it like fires me up. Like, I want to go into wartime leader is the way to put it. Because when it's day to day and it's just optimizing, I hate it. It's like, give me a challenge and I'm ready to rise. And so we threw a 10,000 person virtual conference in April of 2020, like, just like right away. We're like, well, no one can go to conferences, so let's do it virtually. And we just did our own and figured it out and like had incredible speakers. We had Damon John and Anthony Scaramucci and the Navy SEAL guy named Brandon Webb and like all these incredible people jump in. Literally few weeks into COVID and just did it. 1,000 people showed up and did a full day conference in front of our laptops. And that was really cool. And then we kept doing them. And then I saw people got sick of, at home conferences. I'm like, stop doing them. Nobody wants. And we did entertainment. We literally had, what do we call it? Hawk at Night. I think it was on Tuesdays every week, Tuesdays or Thursdays. We had Hawk at Night. And we had entertainers come in and we did a magic show and a comedy show and all these things. We're like, listen, everyone's stuck in their houses. Let's do something about it. So that went really well. Then 2022, I'd say, is kind of the timing when that tone really shifted, and you had rising interest rates and you had a war breakout and all these things. And it just shifted quick where no one wanted to sit in front of the computer anymore. And my team did not, myself included, we didn't adapt to that as well quickly. It took us a while, but now we have a lot of our team back in office. We are fully back at events all the time. We're really preaching that. We're out and about. We've got a lot of new blood that isn't stuck in the COVID way of doing things, because that was hard too, I think people kind of used all of their willpower to transition into COVID. And when it was time to pivot again, it was burnout. And you saw a lot of burnout in 2022. And so we're now seeing a lot of success of forcing that the other way, that it's back to in person, and we're starting to feel more like 20.
That's awesome. So I guess in terms of who you guys work with, right? Because obviously you have an e-commerce background. So do you mostly work with e-commerce brands or other businesses? What does that breakdown kind of look like?
It's super agnostic. I mean, we hire experts in their fields, meaning a Facebook expert, TikTok expert, an email expert, a web design expert. And we are able to use that. We work with lots of e-commerce, lots of consumer brands, lots of software businesses, B2B companies, funds that we also have a whole personal branding department where we work with a lot of fund founders, pharmaceutical executives, some of the biggest pharma companies you guys would know. We work with, I'm trying to think what else. I mean, restaurants and hospitality and service businesses of all kinds. We're, again, pretty agnostic. And it's really, before we ever take anyone's money or sign anything, we go in and identify where we think the opportunities for us to help are. And everything we do is a la carte and super flexible. So it's let's just attack these things, jump in and do it. And then we can go from there. And that generally works out for us.
That's awesome. So obviously now we're at the halfway point here in 2025. So what are you guys really focused on for the rest of this year?
Yeah, it's honestly, so we've built a lot of new people. It's been this back to work thing. And we knew this would happen. We did it intentionally. We knew people would naturally not want to go back in the office and not want to work in person. So we've had sort of natural attrition this year that we've replaced with people in office. And we've got a combination that I'm really enjoying right now of some really long time executives and people that have been at the company that are bringing a lot of institutional knowledge, but are fired up by the new energy coming in, and all this new energy that has no preconceived notions, no baggage, no pivot into 2020 and then pivot back in 22. And oh God, remember how good it was in 21 and then it got harder in 20. All that stuff. Some people can work through, some people can't. And the people that can't are using the opportunity to leave. And now we're replacing it with people that are I get to be here. I love Hawk Media. And thankfully we've built a good brand in the space that people want to work with us. And so we have all these new optimistic, fired up people combined with these, I hate the word legacy because it's not the right word, but legacy people that really know how Hawk works, working together. Legacy people are getting a newfound energy. The fired up new people are getting a lot of institutional knowledge passed to them. And it's all in office. A lot of it's in office again. So it's happening quick. And so I'm just seeing things starting to fire, new ideas, new people. And even we hired a head of talent. I think it's been 3 months. And I got to be careful making this guy's head too big because I can't stop praising him. But I have never operated in a way that I knew what it could be to have a great head of talent. And so the guy's just such a gem. It allows us to just, we ask and we say, hey, we need this role. And within days, we have incredible people in front of us. And he came in, and I've always thought we had great benefits, but I am so used to, again, some people that have been here a long time, they're well, it could be better. And then he comes in and goes, he's worked at tons of big businesses, CAA, Fullscreen, AT&T, all these things. And he's I've never seen benefits like this. You guys really take care of your people. And now that's the guy leading the charge of how we bring people in. So everyone comes in feeling grateful because he's kind of leading with that. And it's just a tone that's been set recently that is awesome. So focus the rest of the year is to lean into this new energetic team and see what we can accomplish by the end of the year. We just had our exec offsite last week and put together plans of here are basically all the things we think are, I don't want to say broken, but need to improve in the company. Now let's put a punch list together and fix it all. And that's our plan for this quarter.
That's awesome. So if you could go back in time to before you started this business, what is the one biggest piece of advice that you wish you knew?
There's a couple. I'd say number one is keep going. I just saw a Hermosi line about this where it's like that point where you want to give up. If you don't, you just made it past where a lot of people wouldn't have. And that sets you apart. Like that, there's a lot of truth in that. Like you're going to hit points where you're just done. And actually it boils down to this, which I realized, which is businesses only fail for two reasons. They either get underwater financially, meaning you raise too much debt, can't afford to pay it. You raise too much equity and you will never pay it back. So you own none of your business anymore. If you have a pref return or whatever, you get to the point where it's like, either you lose your business, someone takes over it, or you're like, why am I doing this? I don't even own my business anymore. So that's number one. Number two is the leadership burns out. That's it. Because if you don't end up underwater financially, you can always shrink as much as you need to adapt to what's going on in the world. That's not hard to do. And so what that means is there are two priorities as a leader. Number one, don't get underwater financially. Like just be careful. And two, make sure you're setting up your business in a way that you want to keep going, that you wake up in the morning and fire it up. I'm not saying it's going to happen every day, but the things that are driving you nuts, that are burning you out, that are taking your energy, find ways to pawn that off, to avoid it, to hire, to handle it, to fix it, whatever. Don't let it sit around so that you don't burn out, because fighting that burnout and, basically, holding yourself and your self-retention is the most important priority will save the business. It also will make you push harder, will make you grow more. Like that is the biggest lesson I've learned in the business. The other one, which is important, is no one's going to care as much as you. And I know that's a cliche, but you really have to remember that when you're looking at your executives, when you're looking at your employees and wondering why they won't work as hard as you, or why you can't rely on them all the time, and why they went to bed or left on Friday and went off for the weekend with this massive fire that could end the company. It's because if their worst case scenario is they get another job. And it's not flippant. I'm not saying there aren't amazing employees in Hawk and other places. It's a reality. And I've heard other leaders talk about this too. I heard Gary going, like, the idea that you think your people will ever care as much as you're an idiot. Like, why would they?
Exactly.
They didn't start this. They don't have the history. They don't have what's riding on it like you did. And they won't ever. Even if you give them some equity, it's still nothing compared to your win. So like, you just got to accept that. And that combination of knowledge of, your people are going to care as much as they will. And again, I have incredible people that have been with me a long time. So this isn't a jab at people. It's actually just a reality. And then also realizing that you really need to retain yourself. That will make you really be successful.
That's good advice. If somebody's watching this and if they wanted to either reach out to you or get in touch with Hawk Media, do you mind sharing your website or social media handles?
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's just @Erik Huberman on any social channel. And then for Hawk, hawkmedia.com, HAWKE is probably the easiest. Happy to always run a free marketing audit on any business and happy to help.
Awesome. Well, Erik, thanks so much for your time today.
Absolutely.
Awesome.